Hello everyone, so I have completed book number 5, which is Professor Anthony Reddie's wonderful book, Is God Colourblind? This is the second book I've read in a row that I would want to make compulsory reading for all people involved in active ministry today. Professor Reddie begins by saying that his aim with the book is to provide a resource for all involved in leadership in the church to exercise our ministries in a manner that is informed by black theology. It's a wonderful introduction to this crucial topic in our racially divided world today. Now, the answer to the question posed by the book's title is, of course, no. As Professor Reddie notes, the kingdom of God is a diverse one. God, who has inspired all people to be themselves, has created this diversity. He goes on to say that black theology wants to argue for the particularity of blackness, meaning that it is our very blackness that God is not only revealed, but is also understood within the realms of our blackness and the experiences that emerge from being black. Now, for a privileged white man, this is a book which repeatedly raises enormous questions about my life and ministry. Professor Reddie is incredibly gracious in raising these, but I would have to live in a different world and at a different time for any discomfort to be unwarranted. By way of example, he raises the question of why do we call Luke 10:29-37 the parable of the Good Samaritan? Why the Good Samaritan? In so doing, he notes that there is a real danger that we imply most Samaritans, the others in this story, are not good. Professor Reddie notes that the Good Samaritan becomes a culturally acceptable version of blackness, just as he also reflects that his own acceptability has grown in the progress he has made throughout his life in terms of social and occupational mobility. Then, in a crucial chapter, Professor Reddie invites us all to reflect on what defines our identity and to pay close attention to what we do or do not say about ourselves. He suggests that we often do not always note the privileges and the advantages that we hold, and he shares the story of a bishop who did not feel it necessary to note his own maleness, despite the fact that at the time he undertook the exercise, he could not have held the position he did if he was not a man. Now, as a very privileged, educated, straight, white man who has always, throughout my life, been financially secure, I have no doubt that Professor Reddie is correct when he indicates how easily I can fail to acknowledge the marked material, social, cultural and political advantages my white identity confers. And then in another particularly revealing section, Professor Reddie reflects on John 13:21-35 and Jesus' call for us to love one another just as he loves us. He notes that when the enslaved Africans became Christians, well, there was little evidence of this love ethic from their often white Christian slave masters. And he asks what about the descendants when they migrated to the UK in the 1950s and 60s. I was particularly struck by the concept of contractual compassion, where we follow the injunction to love the other to the extent to which the other conforms to the image and perception held of them by those with power. Now, the final 2 chapters of the book contain some sermon material that Professor Reddie shares. I won't go any further at this stage, but suffice it to say I won't ever look at the parable of the talents in any traditional way ever again. This is an utterly crucial book.